You have to walk the talk. You have to be authentic as a leader. If you're not doing it, they see that.
It is entirely universal. There's other people who are going through this.
For me, a great leader needs to be able to marry three things: vision, systems, and people.
Welcome to Leadership Moments if this is your first time, and if you are returning, thank you for your support.
This show is about leaders from all walks of life, leadership tips, and maybe even a little of what you wouldn't expect to help you in leadership.
We would appreciate it if you tell someone else about our podcast as we strive to support all leaders that want to just be better.
Let's get on with the show. Welcome back to Leadership Moments, where we dive deep into the defining experiences, philosophies, and practices that shape extraordinary leaders. I'm your host, Tracy Ann Palmer, and today's guest is someone who embodies purpose-driven leadership, discipline, and transformation across sectors. Lorraine Armijos began her journey in the U.S. Air Force and transitioned into corporate world before founding Law Insights, a firm specializing in leadership coaching and process improvement. We're going to talk a lot about that. And with 20 plus years of experience and deep expertise in lean methodology, Lorraine helps leaders optimize not just systems, but human potential. So Lorraine, it's a privilege to have you here, and welcome to Leadership Moments. So Lorraine, your leadership journey has been pretty fascinating, right? You began in the U.S. Air Force. You're very structured and high stakes environment, right? I'd want to know, what were your biggest leadership lessons that you learned during your military service?
Yes, there were so many during that time, but I think the three that really stood out were accountability, alignment, and development. With accountability, I remember I was running late to a morning huddle that we were having. I was already running late. So I'm like, let me stop by and get some coffee. Right. And I thought in my head that I was just going to apologize and things were going to continue. I went ahead and I walk in. My sergeant stopped me on my tracks, was not happy not only that I was late, but the fact that I stopped. Instead of trying to get to work, I stopped to get my coffee. And so that to me was such a valuable lesson of not only am I accountable to my leader, but also I need to be accountable to myself, and the team really depends on me. So that was a lesson that I always remember. Then, with alignment, even before you get in the military, you already know what your mission is, right? And so it is very clear every day going to work what it was and why I was doing it. And that felt great to know what I was doing and what I was benefiting, right? The work that I was doing. And the development piece is that you are expected to keep moving up in the ranks, right? There is that expectation that you will do it. And so I always felt that I was being developed. It was very natural. And they role model the behavior. So if there was any new person, I would be developing them. And so those three lessons are very critical that whenever I have my clients, is that I bring forward so they can be successful in the work that they do.
Yeah, I think those are absolutely critical. And I have to say, all the people that I've worked with that have come from military backgrounds, those are definitely traits that I have admired and respected, right? And, growing up in a disciplinarian home, my dad was also, in the war. He was also, came from the army, and that I always just remember those are things that will always be with you your entire life, and not only be with you, but benefit you.
Mm-hmm.
no matter where you go, no matter what you do.
Yes. And going to the military is a decision that I've never regretted. And if anything, I regret not having gone back. Because it was a great experience that there's so many lessons there to learn. And especially because I joined at 19. I was still young, right? And so being able to give me all these real life experiences at an early age is definitely something that benefit me in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I want to talk about something else which is fascinating, which is the pivot, right? We all made pivots, but pivoting from military, right, US Air Force to corporate is probably a little bit of a culture shock, and also a big change, a really big career pivot. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how did that shape your path?
You asked me earlier about what leadership lessons I learned, and I'm going to tell you that I did not know what I learned until I transitioned.
Interesting. Yeah.
And when I transitioned, what I saw is in accountability, for example, the person who was working the hardest would get the extra work, or was getting the work from that person that wasn't working the hardest. And even in large companies, I've seen people being moved around instead of being kept accountable. Right. And so that is something that was very shocking, and how difficult it is for a lot of leaders to have those crucial conversations. And like my sergeant, stop them at the tracks before it gets worse. Right. And so, and similar with alignment, going in different companies, seeing that not only are people not rowing in the same direction, but some are paddleboarding, some are jogging, right? And even in the same department, people have their own agenda. And that is something that really hurts company culture, hurts results. And with development, in the military, it's about, they already have the systems in place. So that's really helpful. But most companies don't have that. And most leaders are not, their intention is not to develop themselves or others. And it's not because they don't want to and they don't care, but because they haven't been given that example of what it is that they need to do. So yeah, so those three are ones that they're so critical in the military, and they're so critical in any organization that I work with. So and like I said, I was able to learn that afterwards, when I was able to see what the other side, the civilian world, was like.
Yeah, you've brought up some very, I've seen the same, and you've brought up some very hard truths. This podcast is for leaders, those that are there and those that are aspiring to be there. And I always say, leaders hold themselves accountable. That's step number one. You can't call a leader is not about the title. It's about how you act, and the actions you take makes a leader. Just because you have the title does not make you a leader, right? And I really appreciate everything that you've just said, because one, it's hard truth, hard fact, things I know you probably speak to your clients about, things I know I speak to my clients about, and it's real. It is real, and it's got to be fixed. It has to be fixed. Now, one of the things that you specialize in is this lean methodology. But as we were talking about it, there's some things that your perspective on lean really shifted a little bit of my perspective too, in terms of how we leverage it, and it sort of goes beyond this just, it's just about efficiency, right? So you specialize in lean, you specialize in this whole process improvement methodology, but you've got this approach that says it's way beyond. And how did a shift in your own perspective reveal that deep power of lean? Because I think people just talk about lean, but it's like, it's so cliched. They just talk about it, but I'm not sure that people truly understand the power. So I'm curious on, how did you get there?
Yeah. And so to your point, lean is a buzzword, right? Let's lean this process. Let's lean this other thing. And so to your listeners who are not familiar with lean, lean was developed by Toyota, and it is to create value for the customer by eliminating waste, improving efficiency, and improving results, right? So that is usually what people hear, right? The efficiency piece. But what the other thing that it does is that it empowers, it gives empowerment to the employees that do the work, right? It's about understanding the problem, solving the problem with those who are the experts. And I was able to see that when I became a leader. And when I became a leader, it was first leadership role that I had, and they had given me 3 departments to merge into one. And I was only the expert in half of one of those. And so I went ahead and took lean because that's what the company was doing. And lean has a ton of tools, but there were 2 main tools that helped me shift how I looked at lean. The first one was the daily huddle, which we would do on a daily basis, 10 minutes. So the 3 departments would get together. And the goal is to understand, what do you need to be successful in the day? What are the barriers, and how can we help each other? Right. So this is every day they have a platform to speak up and help each other. And then on a weekly basis, we would have something that's called the problem solving huddle. Also short. These are not like hour-long meetings, not even 30-minute long. And they, being the experts, right, because it wasn't me, they being the experts would identify problems that are not getting them to the results we needed as a department. And they are solving their own problems, right? So I was able to see, yes, we improved efficiency. Yes, we got the results. But I had now a team that was first siloed to one team that was supporting each other. They even wanted to cross-train and learn from each other, and were meeting the results. I was able to get high employee engagement scores because of this culture. And it gave me back time to lead, to do the things that I had to do to support my team and help the organization be successful. So definitely it's a lot more than the buzzword of let's lean this out. It's about long-term success.
And what do you think some of the misconceptions are that people have? How do you reframe it for leaders who want to empower their teams and foster that innovation?
Yeah, a lot of leaders get really excited. Right? The buzzword. But when I start working with leaders, they think it's a checklist. It's short-term, right, success, and they can delegate it. And that is far from the truth. And so the first thing is to let them know that they need to be committed to this. They will be transforming the way they lead also through this. And yes, we will be successful in the short term, but even better, it's going to be a long-term success, shifting cultures, engaging employees. So then the leaders within the organization can do what they're meant to do versus this firefighting on a daily basis. So so it's a lot of fun to be able to see how these leaders transform and how, just like me, are able to see the shift of what lean can actually do.
Yeah, so on that note, I know we chatted a little bit about what you've seen from a transformational perspective with the dynamics of the culture of the team. And I'd love you to just share that story with our audience, because that to me was just a very powerful story of how it really impacts that alignment and that accountability and all those things that you were talking about, right? I think it brings it back home and say, this lean process is very powerful.
Yeah, so I was working with a department, and the leader of the department was all bought in, right? Superstar leader, but his employees thought it was, once again, the flavor of the month. They were just kind of going through the work, and we had to improve their workflows. And so I invited the skeptics, those employees that were skeptic about lean, and we were able to, they were able to see what it was about, which is, you are the expert. You tell me what are the problems, what are the solutions, and let's put a plan in place to solve this. And by them being able to see the process and to own the process, they were able to go back to the rest of the team and share it and be the promoters of lean. And not only were they promoting, and the neat part was that they weren't only promoting their own, within their own department, but because they were working with other departments, they were able to go on and share the success and collaborate with the departments and talk about the problems that they had as they were collaborating and what can they do together. So it really was, it's just a story of understanding what lean is, right? And empowering the employees to then change the dynamics as a whole.
Yeah. And that consistency, right? Because when you keep it consistent and they get that experience of success, that's what then drives the culture change, right?
Yeah. And then you also see, back to the alignment, right? Now they're all aligned and understand what is it that they need to do as a team to be successful. And that's really is what engages the teams. And it's just showing the respect. It's respect for the people is also important in lean. And we're respecting the employees. And of course, the leader sets the guardrails. It's not free for all. But the employee is able to own their own work and solve it, because they're the experts.
Totally. Now I'm going to pivot a little bit, because I know that there are a lot of people in transition right now in corporate. There's been the whole industry really has been experiencing layoffs. I know just even in tech last year, there was, enormous amount of layoffs. And I've heard you speak about this. I would really love you to share, any advice or any insights that you have for our audience today, because this is a real tough one. I mean, there are people, who have never, ever ended up on a layoff list, right? And this is, first time in their lives. And it's a real, real tough situation.
Yes, I experienced that. And so whether you're early in your career or late in your career, it's something that is very difficult to take on, because like you said, you don't expect it. And so for your listeners, I see you and I feel what you're going through. And so what I would say is, first, understanding that it takes an average, right? There's a lot of variability there, but it takes an average of 3 to 6 months to get a new job. And it is important to understand that, so then you can shift it into an opportunity, right? So now you have an opportunity of 3 to 6 months to not only update your resume and practice for the interviews you're going to be having, but what I would suggest is to really think about your personal goals. So what are the life goals that you want, right? Where do you want to live? Do you want to work till 8 p.m.? Do you want to work till 4 p.m.? Is a drive far away, right? Like what does your life look like? So that way you can understand your personal goals and then marry them with your career goals and be able to find that job. Because if you're able to know those two goals, I believe that your life is a lot more meaningful and you're successful in both areas. And I wish I would have understood about that timeline, because it would have just given me more time to reflect. But I definitely, in my experience, I was able to see how my worth had been tied to work for so long, right? And so the layoffs helped me understand that, no, that's not everything, right? And so helped me reflect and kind of understand what my life, what life I wanted to have.
Right. It's a bit of a reset, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And using it as an opportunity for a reset.
Yes. Yes. And you don't see it until afterwards.
Yes.
You're like,
of course.
I had all that time. Why was I so stressed out? Right. And so, yes, it is stressful. And even knowing that it's 3 to 6 months, it's not going to get your stress away, but use it as an opportunity to really align those two things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fantastic advice. Now, what's one actionable habit or mindset shift that you recommend for any, emerging leaders who really want to build their influence and have impact early in their careers?
Yes. So the one thing that I wish I would have known early on in my career was the power of reflection. And by that, I mean understanding your goals, right? So if it's influence, like what does that mean? And then on a daily basis, with paper and pen on hand, is reflecting what went well, what didn't go well, and what do I need to improve, and take action on that. It takes 5 minutes, but the gains of that is tremendous. And I believe that if I would have done that early on in my career, I would have been able to not only meet more of my goals, but just be a better human. Because reflection is powerful and it's free, which is even better.
Yeah. And also, it makes you more self-aware, which is what you're saying. Because when you become more self-aware and you get more emotionally intelligent, which, unfortunately, if you look at the stats, most of the world isn't, that actually makes you into a better leader, to your point, a better human being, but also better at your job.
Yes. And you're growing, right? You're growing and getting those goals that you've set yourself for.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if someone listening today feels stuck or, they're not being seen in the organization, which I hear a lot, I'm sure you hear that a lot, right? What's one thing you would tell them to start doing tomorrow?
Yes, I recently had a client who was the same thing that I heard, is not being able to be seen. And one of the things that I suggest is to ask for feedback. Tell people, what are your goals? Because here's the thing, people cannot read minds, right? And sometimes we keep our goals to ourselves, but really it's tell your leader, like, what are your goals? And then ask for that feedback. So probably those are two things. And ask for feedback on how you're doing. So that way, by asking for feedback and sharing your goals, people will see you, will understand what your goals are, will see that you're trying to improve, and then we'll hopefully give you that opportunity that you're seeking for. So I think those are two things. I know you asked for one, but those are two things that can be very powerful.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's awesome. That's great. So what advice would you give to leaders, who are considering stepping into entrepreneurship, especially from traditional career paths? Because now you've gone from, the US Air Force, into corporate. I have Lars Insights, right? This is your organization. And so I would love to hear from you as you've gone through this career journey, what advice you have for others that might not be thinking of traditional paths.
Yes, I looking at kind of my journey, I would suggest number one is take your time, right? Understand what are your goals, what are the things that you need. A lot of people that I've met, they also suggest like don't leave your job yet, right? Really understand where you're going with this. And then the second part that I learned, I'm really learning now, actually, is the amount of help that is out there. People immediately try to think like, okay, who do I need to hire to help me with this? Who do I need to hire to help me with that? But there are so many people out there. And so I would suggest Google startup organizations in your area, entrepreneurs organization in your areas. And what you'll find is a community of people that want to help you, that will help give you the guidance. And it's so much better doing it with a group of people that support and are engaging with you than doing it by yourself. And so that has been very transformative for me as I have found this community here in Sacramento.
Yeah, I think that is excellent advice, Lorraine, and so on point because, as you're starting out, you're scared, you're fearful, you're not really sure which direction to go in, and you got to find a community that you can, get support from, rely on. Some people have done things that you haven't done yet, but you can get advice from them, and you don't have to learn the hard lessons again. They might have already gone through it, so learn from them so you don't make mistakes.
Yes. Oh my goodness, you have no idea how much I've been able to learn and share also my experience and grow, like you said, not repeating other people's mistakes and learning such amazing things that other people are doing or thinking that you think everything has been created. Like there's everything is out there, but no, like there's so many amazing people out there with such amazing ideas that are developing products, services that it's been a lot of fun being in this community.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's so great to hear. So there's that sound. So I have 3 questions for you.
Oh, okay.
These are fun questions. Like, would you rather have the ability to cook like a world-class chef or have a personal chef who makes all of your meals?
So I am very fortunate, first of all, that my husband makes all my meals.
Oh, yes, you're fortunate.
So I would say learn how to cook like a chef, because I would love to be able to cook for him. And also if he's not around, I would love to be able to cook these delicious meals versus ordering out.
Totally. Second question, would you rather have the ability to teleport anywhere instantly or speak every language fluently?
So here I go back to efficiency. And I would say teleport. That would be amazing to be able to teleport anywhere at any time. Yeah. So definitely teleport.
Time. Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm so with you. And then the last question is, would you rather always have to sing your responses or always have to dance when communicating?
Yeah, so I think that if I sing, no one would want to ask me any questions. So definitely dancing. I love dancing, and if my world, there would be music in the background, like a musical, and I could dance all the time, that would be my perfect life. So dancing for sure.
That's fantastic. That's great. Well, Lorraine, thank you for sharing not only your journey, but your heart and hard-won wisdom. from lean leadership to transformative coaching. Your work is really a testament to what's possible when process, I think, needs purpose, right? And for our listeners, remember, real leadership is not just about driving the results. It's not about the title. It's about building environments where others can thrive. So if today's episode inspired you, which it certainly did me, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to leadershipmomentspodcast.com. If you enjoyed the show, please go to leadershipmomentspodcast.com to subscribe to the podcast or on your favorite player, as well as follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn.
You can also send us a message on what you like and don't like, or what guest you want us to have on the show.
So until next time,
This is Stacey Castor, and what doesn't challenge you won't change you.
and I'm Tracy Ann Palmer. Be the change you wish to see in the world.